Hi and welcome to today's presentation. We are going to look at leadership and management. So in today's discussion, we are basically going to discuss the November 2022 paper. So this is basically question 3, under change. So let me give a brief highlight on the question. So question 1 or question A1 states define change. Then question A2 describe the Kate-Lewin's change theory with examples. Then we have B outline the 5 storage guidelines of medical supplies. Then we have C explain 5 reasons why people may resist change. Lastly, we have D, which is state the 4 phases that might be used to lead change by managers. So basically going to break down each question one by one, and I hope you follow through. If you have any question, you might just simply drop in the comment section. So thank you very much for joining. Let us begin our journey. So we're going to begin with question A1, which was define change. So change can simply be defined as making something different from the way it was originally. So that's a simple definition for change. Then we can move to question A2, which was describe the Kate-Lewin's theories of change with examples. So we are going to begin by basically listing the same theories which are involved in the Kate-Lewin's theory. So basically, the Kate-Lewin's change theory has 3 stages. So we have stage number 1, which is the unfreezing stage. Then we have stage number 2, which is the moving or the transition stage. Then lastly, we have the refreezing stage. So I'm going to begin with stage number 1. So the unfreezing stage, this is basically the first stage which is found under the Kate-Lewin's change theory. So basically this phase occurs where an individual or group senses a problem and also it needs to do, for example, to come up with a work, or maybe they have some awareness that they have a particular problem that they might need to solve. So basically decisions occur on changes that might be made to solve the problem. So basically under unfreezing, it's like where everyone is made aware that hey, something is not being done in a manner which is either correctly or the manner that it is needed to be conducted as planned either by an organization or by a team. So basically under unfreezing, team members and also team leaders are involved in assessing and identifying the gaps that need to be covered or the sources of the problems. Then we can now move on to stage number 2, which is the moving or the transition stage. So basically, under this stage, after you identify the problem and you also have identified the need to solve it in many ways, an individual or a team will start now exploring or basically searching for other solutions to solve the problem. So basically, under this stage, team members together with team leaders are basically involved in analyzing possible alternative solutions. So they're also involved in coming up with ways or plans on how to accomplish the solutions, and also they're involved in picking the best possible solutions that will be put in effect. So under the moving stage, it is basically another process or an angular position which is planned. Then under the moving or transition stage, management of this process basically involves winning the support of all the affected and also getting them to participate. Lastly, we have the refreezing stage. So under the refreezing stage, we have this is basically the stabilization of the change and integration of change into one's personality. What do we mean? So basically this refers to ways and means in which new patterns become stabilized in the individual or group. Then we also would agree to say an example that I would give under this refreezing stage, like for example, we had the COVID-19 outbreak in 2019. So at that particular stage, For example, in stage number one, we were made aware that the problem we have been faced with is a viral infection, which is COVID-19. We had identified in stage one. Then in stage two, we had now come up with possible solutions to say, okay, what ways or what measures can we implement to prevent the spread of COVID-19? So basically, under stage number two, people who are involved in the healthcare system provided us with face masks. Then in stage number three, that's when now we got to accept the fact that COVID-19 is here to stay. Therefore, we just have to at least move in line with the health regulations or health precautions that have been set up. So these are some of the relevant examples that I'm able to come across. Then the next question, so we're basically done with question B. Pardon me, we're basically done with question A, 2. We can now move on to question B. So under question B, the question reads, this outline 5 storage guidelines of medical supplies. So we basically have got a wide range of answers. So I had also come up with mine. So here are some of the storage guidelines. So my number 1 point was, you should ensure that you store in a dry place away from heat and humidity. Then my second point was, identify the temperature range of a medication fridge. Ensure that you always ensure that the temperature ranges are within the stipulated degrees. For example, we have a range of 34 to 40 degrees Celsius. Then the third point was, medications should be stored in a container which it was supplied by the supplier, or for example a pharmacist. So this will help in easily identifying the same drug and also avoiding any forms of medical errors. Then my fourth point was, always store all commodities in a manner that facilitates the FIFO, or the first in first out policy for stock management. Then my fifth answer was, place liquids on lower shelves or on bottom of stocks. Then my sixth answer was, separate any damaged or expired products from usable stocks. Lastly, the seventh point was, store high security or high value products in appropriate security zones. What do I mean with the last point? So basically we have got controlled and non-controlled drugs. So this is what I was referring to under the last point, under number 7. So we can now move on to C. So under C it states, explain the 5 reasons why people may resist change. So we have got quite a number of factors that might lead people to resist change. So here are some of the factors that I had come up with. So we have number 1, we have fear of the unknown. So basically changes brings uncertainty because you do not know whether your planned goals or your target are going to be reached, or if you're going to receive a positive or a negative outcome. Okay, then we also have personal factors. So under personal factors, we are saying being shown a better way of doing something implies that the current performance is not acceptable. So this results in embarrassment and basically insecurity. So this is basically part of human nature or human thinking. Then we also have social factors. So we are saying human beings are creatures of habit, therefore they dislike breaking up a current social environment. Then we also have cultural factors. So some behaviors are not basically accepted either within an organization or within a form of family setup. Then lastly, we have job factors. So under job factors, we are basically saying fear of technical unemployment, and also fear of changes of working conditions, fear of demotions. Just imagine in a case where there is introduction of new technology at a workplace. So this might mean that you need to go again for training. Then you do not know whether you are going to qualify for that same training. You do not know whether you're going to be acquainted with the same machinery. So that this brings about the fear in relation to job factor. So we are almost done with this question. We also going to discuss question D. So under D, we have state the 4 phases of change that will be used to lead change by managers. Okay. So here are the 4 phases. So allow me to basically list them, then we will now go in details. So we have the first one being assess the need for change. Then the second one is decide on the need for change. Third, we have apply the change. Lastly, we have evaluate the change. So the first one, under the assessing the need for change, we're saying you basically need to be involved in the assessment phase. So this is basically a team incorporated effort. Okay, so basically under this first stage, you are basically identifying and also seeing to it that you identify a source of a problem and also identify existing problems. Secondly, we had stage number 2 or phase number 2, which was decide on the need for change. So basically, it's another teamwork, Nangula organizational effort, where everybody decides what is the ideal future state and what are the possible stumbling blocks or obstacles that may come as you facilitate the same change within an organization. The third phase is apply the change. So basically, you need to decide whether the change will occur from the top down or bottom up, and then introduce and manage the same change. So basically, under the third stage, we're looking at implementation of whatever decisions that you had highlighted on the second and first stage. Lastly, we have evaluate the change. So by basically comparing the situation before and after the change or using other benchmarks. So under evaluation, you're basically seeing whether you had managed to come at the same stated goal, whether the outcome is positive, whether the outcome is negative. So basically, this marks the end of our presentation. I hope you have picked at least 1 or 2 concepts. If you have any query, any question, feel free to interact. So this basically is a summary of the November 2022 paper. So I hope at least you have at least identified certain key points. Have a wonderful day and hope to see you next time in our next presentation on tetanus in pediatrics. Thank you once more.